Channa Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Channa Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Channa Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Channa Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Pararajakacharya Stutara Satasri Shrimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Anantakoti Vaishnava Brinda Ki Jai Nama Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Premshikaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasa Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kund Radha Kund Gira Govardhan ki jai. Sri Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Sri Mathurā Dham ki jai. Sri Dwarka Dham ki jai. Sri Mayapur Dham ki jai. Sri Sri Panchatattva ki jai. Sri Sri Radha Madhava Astasakis ki jai. Sri Sri Nrsimha Bhagavan Prahlad Maharaj ki jai. Jamuna Mai ki jai, Ganga Mai ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Srimati Tulsi Maharani ki jai, Sankirtan Yagya ki jai, Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki jai, Transcendental Book Distribution ki jai, Gaura Premanandi, Hari Hari Bo, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Srila Prabhupada's Sankirtan army. All glories to you, Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Shatarine. And we can all pray for this great mercy. Om Agyantimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshus Unmilitanjena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Hare Krishna. Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We are hearing and chanting from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Jai, Canto 3, and Chapter 3, entitled The Lord's Pastimes Out of Vrindavan. Today, we're reading 3 texts, Text 10, Text 11, and Text 12. But we'll all chant together, Text 10. Can't see the board, but does that begin with the word kāla-māgadha? Yes. Okay, good. Text 10 has a purport written by Srila Prabhupada. The other 2 texts do not. So, Text 10. Kāla-māgadha-śālvādīn, anīkai, rundhataḥ, puram, ajīghanat, svayam, divyam, sva-puṁsāṁ, teja, ādiśat, kāla-māgadha-śālvādīn, anīkai, rundhataḥ puram, ajīghanat svayam divyam, sva-puṁsāṁ teja ādiśat, kāla-māgadha-śālvādīn, anīkai rundhataḥ puram, ajīghanat svayam divyam, sva-puṁsāṁ teja ādiśat. Vaishnavis. kāla-māgadha-śālvādīn anīkai puram.
ajīghanat svayam divyam sva-puṁsāṁ teja ādiśat
kāla-māgadha-śālvādīn anīkai rundhataḥ puram.
ajīghanat svayam divyam sva-puṁsāṁ teja ādiśat kāla-māgadha-śālvādīn anīkai rundhataḥ puram ajīghanat svayam divyam sva-puṁsāṁ teja ādiśat
Word meanings by Srila Prabhupada. Kālayavana. That's the name of a terrifically bad demon. Okay. Magadha. The King of Magadha. Parentheses. Jarāsandha. Sālva. King Śālva. Ādīn and others. Anīkai by the soldiers. Rundhataḥ being encircled. Puram the city of Mathurā. Ajīghanat killed. Svayam personally. Divyam transcendental. Sva-puṁsāṁ it's singular S. Sva-puṁsāṁ of his own men. Teja prowess. Ādiśat exhibited. Translation and then purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Translation: Kālayavana, the King of Magadha and Śālva, attacked the city of Mathurā. But when the city was encircled by their soldiers, the Lord refrained from killing them personally, just to show the power of his own men. Please repeat. Kālayavana, then the King of Magadha and Śālva attacked the city of Mathurā. But when the city was encircled by their soldiers, the Lord refrained from killing them personally, just to show the power of his own men. Purport: after the death of Kansa, when Mathurā was encircled by the soldiers of Kālayavana, Jarāsandha and Sālva, the Lord seemingly fled from the city, and thus he is known as Ranchor, or one who fled from fighting. Actually, the fact was that the Lord wanted to kill them through the agency of his own men. Devotees like Mucukunda and Bhīma, Kālayavana, and the King of Magadha were killed by Mucukunda and Bhīma, respectively, who acted as agents of the Lord. By such acts, the Lord wanted to exhibit the prowess of his devotees. as if he were personally unable to fight, but his devotees could kill them. The relationship of the Lord with his devotees is a very happy one. Actually, the Lord descended at the request of Brahma in order to kill all the undesirables of the world, but to divide the share of glory, he sometimes engaged his devotees to take the credit. The Battle of Kurukṣetra was designed by the Lord himself, but just to give credit to his devotee Arjuna, nimitta-mātraṁ bhava svayaṁ, he played the part of the charioteer, while Arjuna was given the chance to play the fighter and thus become the hero of the Battle of Kurukṣetra. What he wants to do himself, by his transcendental plans, he executes through his confidential devotees. That is the way of the Lord's mercy towards his pure, unalloyed devotees. Hare Krishna. So we're going to come back to this in just a moment. Text 11, I'll just read the English, and text 12, I'll just read the English. Of kings like Shambhara, Dvivida, Bana, Mura, Balvala, and many other demons such as Dantavakra, some he killed himself, and some he caused to be killed by others, Sri Baladev and so on. Then, O Vidura, the Lord caused all the kings, both the enemies and those on the side of your fighting nephews, to be killed in the Battle of Kurukṣetra. All those kings were so great and strong that the earth seemed to shake as they traversed the warfield. Okay, and getting back to today's verse that we chanted, Kālayavana, the king of Magadha and Śālva attacked the city of Mathurā. But when the city was encircled by their soldiers, the Lord refrained from killing them personally, just to show the power of his own men. I have to say at the outset, how ironic that we are today reading and discussing about demons, naming them, who want to kill Krishna. And yet, downstairs, there are what we saw this morning with the Lord, Madhava and Sri Radha, and their most intimate associates, Saki gopis, decorated so gorgeously in their flowers and outfits of flowers. And these are not ordinary flowers. In the spiritual world, each flower is a person. And each person, a devotee, a pure devotee, manifests in a form with such beauty. It makes the most beautiful flowers in the universe look like a petal that fell on the ground, if that. And they fill the atmosphere with the most intoxicating aromas, which don't exist in the universe. The aromas that they generate as pure devotees in their flower form of pleasing Krishna in Vrindavan. So how can anyone, seeing that and having even a glimpse of what it all means, want to kill Krishna. It's just, so that's the irony of today's texts. But we have to get to them, so. Hare Krishna. Text 10 describes the three different kings who encircled Mathurā, sometimes with their armies, without the other kings, sometimes with the other kings. So it's all condensed nicely in this one text. So, for example, the King of Magadha. Well, I'll save that second since it comes second. Kālayavana. On the 18th attempt by Jarāsandha to kill Krishna with huge armies, he was joined by Kālayavana, who had his almost invincible armies. And when Lord Krishna saw this city of Mathurā encircled in this way, he put down his weapon. We'll explain in a moment what he did with that weapon before. But now he put down that weapon and just started walking out of the city. And the armies of Jarāsandha were stunned, and they just let him pass through. And the armies of Kālayavana were stunned, and they let him pass through. And then Krishna kept on walking. His walking was at such an incredible speed that Kālayavana, who had great prowess, pursued him as fast as he could, but could never reach him or catch up to Krishna, who appeared to just be walking. It's not like Krishna appeared to be running, but his speed was beyond anything that Kālayavana had ever experienced or seen in this world. And he is one of the great powerful demons. He practically can run at the speed of mind, and he still couldn't catch Krishna. And finally, Krishna walks into a cave of a mountain. And on the floor of that cave is a giant-sized devotee. I mean, like from another yuga, giant-sized, who's sleeping on the floor. And Krishna walks past him, and Kālayavana finally catches up to the cave of the mountain and goes in, and he sees this form of he doesn't know who, and he thinks, bewildered by Krishna's potency, maybe that's Krishna. And he kicks him and tries to challenge, get up, we're going to fight. And so this great devotee in this giant body, Mucukunda, arose, and out of his eyes shot beams of fire that was so intense that Kālayavana, this ultra-powerful demon, asura, immediately was disintegrated into ashes just by the glance of Mucukunda. And so it's a very wonderful pastime. Who is Mucukunda? How he fought for thousands and thousands and thousands of years with the demigods against asuras in the most intense battles that he'd never even practically slept. He just continuously, like almost like some kind of a asura deva marathon of fighting. And this went on for so long that finally, when the asuras finally stopped attacking the devas, he looked around, the battles were over, so he started thinking, I'm going to go back to my kingdom. He was a great king. But then the commander of all the armies of the demigods approached him. Anyone know his name? I can't hear. You have to yell it. Thank you. So he was spoken to by, naturally, the commander of all the Deva armies and said, "My dear Mucukunda, you have been fighting for so long. Your wife has left her body so long ago. Your children and their children, they all left their bodies so long ago. There's no one left in your city that you were going to go back to, which was the capital of your kingdom. There's no one left. That's how long you've been away." And when he heard this news, being a devotee, having this wonderful consciousness of devotional service, he did not become overwhelmed with grief. He did not become overwhelmed with lamentation or hankering. He started to feel, what incredible mercy Krishna has given me, that anything that was left to my attachments in this world are now gone. What a way to think. And Krishna walked back to him, because it was Krishna's plan that he kill Kālayavana. Anyway, then there's the most wonderful prayers spoken by Mucukunda. Now, I haven't studied this in the 10th canto, but Prabhupada has elaborately described and written in the most wonderful way the prayers of Mucukunda to Krishna in the Krishna book. So when we're reading these pastimes, my favorite reference is not a further along canto, especially if it's a section that happened to appear after Prabhupada's disappearance. I go right to the Krishna book, because Prabhupada stopped the whole Bhagavatam in 1969. He completely stopped writing the whole Srimad Bhagavatam because he was calculating, no matter what my mission, Kala, in a representation, a form of Krishna, could end my life at any time, I may not get to the 10th canto. I cannot leave without showing the whole world what no one has known before, especially, well, outside of India and prior use. But at that time, 1968, 69, especially 69, Prabhupada realized no one in this world, practically speaking, has any knowledge of God in the spiritual world in his original Adi-puruṣam as Krishna. It's as if Prabhupada felt that the desperate need of billions of souls on the earth calling out, even if they weren't conscious of their desperation and their need to finally know God, return to God, become an associate of God, relish everything about God. You know, you can never finish relishing everything about God. In one of the prayers, it is mentioned that Lord Anantadev, who has unlimited hoods and mouths, has been chanting the different names of Krishna and the different qualities and attributes of Krishna since, can't be traced, time immemorial, means that we can't even find the beginning of his chanting. And he's still not done. Do you realize how many names of Krishna there are? How many different qualities of Krishna passed? It's beyond unlimited, and it's certainly beyond the mortal mind and intelligence of a human. But thus it's described. So anyway, by telling that story of Anantadev, I have to come back to what we were talking about. So Mucukunda was just so purified and offered the most beautiful prayers, and we recommend you take the time to read them carefully in the Krishna book. There are only a few pages, maybe 3 or 4 pages of prayer, but they're just full of it's like the most enlightening prayers. And Krishna was so pleased with Mucukunda for those prayers and realizations that he offered him any boon. And Mucukunda said, I don't want anything material. I've just been relieved of all my material attachments. The only boon I could request is that I always be your devotee. I always think of you and be engaged in serving you, and there's nothing else I could ever want. And so Krishna is even more pleased with him and tells him that boon has been granted, and because of some of your activities as a kshatriya, you have to take one more birth. Can you imagine? He's a pure devotee. Krishna's telling him, but you still have to take one more birth, because as a kshatriya, he hunted and killed animals and so on. And so Krishna tells him, but you will take birth in a way that you be a pure devotee and always know me and feel you're with me and feel I'm with you. And that was the blessing. So moving right along, the next demon mentioned here is the King of Magadha. That's another name for Jarāsandha. Now, this is very telling. Jarāsandha attacked at first with his unimaginable, uncountable armies, soldiers, elephants, chariots, the city of Mathurā. And Krishna came out, and with his transcendental bow, he began shooting arrows at this army. The arrows were flying at a speed that's beyond anything material. It's not the speed of light, it's not the speed of mind. It's just like, it appeared to be just an endless river flow of arrows which cut down every elephant, every horse, broke the chariots, broke the bows, broke everything in these armies, and created like rivers of blood with the animal that were the carriers of these armies were floating in these rivers as if they were like aquatics or something. Anyway, when Jarāsandha saw his entire army had been killed so instantly by Krishna, who he had so much disdain for. I mean, Krishna's not even a kshatriya. He's raised in a Vaishya family. How could this? And he's young. How could this Krishna be? So he became completely discouraged and gave up on the idea that I could ever kill Krishna, and went back to his city. And then what happened? This is the important point. All the Asura kings came up to him and started telling him, this was just bad luck, bad misfortune. You have to try again. Don't worry, you'll succeed. This was just an unusual array of the stars and astrological influence, whatever they told him. That's called bad association from asuras. So even when one is ready to surrender to Krishna and give up animosity as hopeless, other asuras surround that soul and start encouraging him, go back to being a great asura. This happened over and over and over again. So we're already up to the 17th war where Krishna and Balaram have killed the armies. And now, getting ready for the 18th war. How could anyone keep getting such asuric advice and following it after all the defeats? It's astonishing. But those are the ways of the material energy. So now we come to the 18th war when Kālayavana was there and so on. So this leads us to try to understand. But Krishna allowed Mucukunda to kill Kālayavana. He allowed Bhīma to kill Jarāsandha. He's allowing his devotees to annihilate the asuras, which is his mission or purpose for appearing. We're hearing these amazing pastimes and wondering, what does this have to do with any of us? As other than it's wonderful hearing about Krishna. Well, the fact is that it's not as if with the end of the last yuga and the end of the Battle of Kurukṣetra and the dawning of Kali Yuga, the number of asuras has gone down. In fact, the age of Kali is so degrading that the number of asuras who have come to earth, where we live, has actually multiplied exponentially. During Krishna's time, the asuras had not completely taken control of every human, obviously. Here we are, 5,000 years into the Kali Yuga. The asuras have taken control of practically every human on this earth. How is that? What does that even mean? We're not talking about a great totalitarian regime or great monarchical regime, although over the last 1,000 or 2,000 years we have seen them rise and fall. But the asuras in this age have found it so easy to convince humans there is no God. And that has been their way of attacking all humanity. And how did they do it? By propagating studies of the material energies, calling those studies science, elevating the concept of such studies of science to the highest realm of realized knowledge, of true knowledge, and gradually over several hundreds of years, the demons and their influence has gotten organizations and institutions to put their godless teachings into the curriculum of every school on the face of this earth, other than, of course, our ISKCON Gurukuls. This is their amazing strategy. And so far, it is working. Jarāsandha had realized there's a God, Krishna, there's no other explanation for the annihilation of my heart, and yet the asuras convinced him, no, no, no. Keep hating God, keep thinking there is no God. The association of asuras, even if you have a bright moment of wanting to reach out to God, the asuras right now in Kali Yuga are right there to bring you back to godless condition. So, and just as in these pastimes, Krishna decided, I would like to give my devotees the credit of annihilating some of these demons. So, Lord Chaitanya, the six Goswamis, the true great acharyas of our disciplic succession, and our founder acharya, Srila Prabhupada, have outlined the battle that we have to take up. In fact, Prabhupada has stated emphatically that this ISKCON, this Hare Krishna movement, has arisen, and he's talking about what he brought in 1966 until 1977 and now beyond. This Hare Krishna movement has arisen for two purposes, identical with the purposes of Krishna's descent. This Hare Krishna movement is non-different from Krishna himself in that respect. It is to give shelter and nourishment and pure, enlightened, ecstatic love of God to the devotees who take shelter of this movement. And it's not to be done in places that are just retreats. Rather, the other purpose of this Hare Krishna movement is to annihilate the great demon of this age of Kali, the demon of godless science. Prabhupada stated that is the great demon of the Kali Yuga that our movement must. I was going to read the text from chapter 16 about the demonic nature, but because of the time factor, I'm just going to mention the strategy that Srila Prabhupada gave us. We can take the time, because what Krishna said 5,000 years ago is absolutely perfectly applicable to the demons today. It's not like there's different demons, and because they use different techniques, they ensnare people with their so-called advancement of society's comforts, that they are getting so much support from the general public. Yes, that the demons have developed that as one of their strategies to get people to have faith in them. But everything that Krishna said in that 16th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita about their nature, how they think deep down, what their mentality is, what their goals and desires are, it's as true now as it was 5,000 years ago. In 1,000 years, these demons will be gone temporarily. Now, let me just say that again. In about 1,000 years, these demons will either be gone or completely subjugated and under control. That's the work that Prabhupada and Lord Chaitanya have left for their devotees to accomplish. But that is going to happen whether you participate or not. Does that sound a little familiar? When did Krishna say something like that? Oh, to Arjuna. When he showed Arjuna the whole universe as my material form, he said, whether you fight or not, the results are already there. They're all dead already. You can get the credit, but this is happening no matter what. 1,000 years from now, no matter what, these demons in the control of our schools and our curriculums and the thinking of all humans, constantly training children all through their youth, up through college and postgraduate studies, constantly training children that there is no purpose of life. Life is just arisen accidentally from chemicals. How could there be a purpose? You decide whatever purpose you want. Oh, nature has millions and billions of years over evolution given you senses, and you feel through the senses. Sure, so your purpose is sense gratification. This is the world that we are born into, and every child in every school is being fed this every day, directly and indirectly, as part of their teachings. And Prabhupada has given us this mission. We have to defeat this. So, we're going to take another minute or two to explain something about what Prabhupada said, how this can be defeated. In this age of Kali, as in all other ages, the only way to satisfy Krishna and his agents that control the universe and control the forces of nature are through yajna. There's no second method. There is yajnas that are performed in each and every age by humans, and that brings the mercy and blessing of Krishna and Guru onto that human world. So in this age, there is only one yajna left that us tiny humans, who barely will live to be 100, most likely less than 100 years. There's only, with Prabhupada called the puny brains, in describing our human brains right now. That's right out of his preface to the Srimad Bhagavatam, by the way. He calls our brains puny. Our ability to understand things is puny. We're taught by science to use senses, which are faulty and limited and easily deceived. You think you're seeing one thing, but it's actually something else. And they magnify these problems by powerful instruments that create powerful more mistakes and illusions, and oh, we think we're seeing this, but it's actually something totally different. That's what's going on in the name of science right now. So, Sankirtan Yajna can be performed by humans, and the result of this Sankirtan Yajna is that it brings directly Krishna, his name, everything about Krishna, it brings Krishna down to our earthly plane. And as this yajna is performed, the atmosphere that is so polluted that hovers over the entire earth, and there's two words that Prabhupada used to describe the atmosphere hovering over the earth. Nirvisesha, Shunyavadi. That is the fog and cloud that's above everyone on earth. This Sankirtan Yajna is like bursts of unbelievable, billion times sun, more Brahmajyoti effulgence than anyone could ever imagine. It completely sweeps away this poison, this subtle poison hovering in the atmosphere, and replaces it with a spiritualized atmosphere surcharged with Krishna's pure self. Krishna's name, these books, they're non-different from Krishna. This subtly goes into our atmosphere. And, okay, we have one more minute to explain this. Just as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that without this, the people who are under the control and influence of asuras, they repeatedly take birth again and again in the wombs of other asuras. So they may even stay on the human plane, but just populations of asuras are going on right from the womb, or they're immediately sent back down to hellish forms of life, the animals, the insects, and so on. But this surcharged, spiritualized atmosphere that Prabhupada described causes those same souls in those same asuric mother wombs to suddenly develop a different type of body in the womb. Instead of it just being another asuric body, they start developing in the womb a body that has godly qualities, godly attractions. Attractions to God, I should say it that way. And generation after generation of godly souls will be born if the Sankirtan Yajna is constantly, endlessly, tirelessly, like Mucukunda, endlessly, almost without sleep, tirelessly performed. That's the seva that Prabhupada and Lord Chaitanya have left for us to do. If we don't do it, will we become pure devotees? Maybe over a period of lifetimes, it's possible. But if we take this up, Krishna says, there is no one, no devotee who's more dear to me than the devotee who's preaching this message to others, who's giving this to others. And Lord Chaitanya, 500 years ago, unlocked, as we've read, the storehouse of pure bhakti and prema, and enabled devotees to start distributing it, you could say prematurely, without waiting many lifetimes of being a devotee and being pious. So in a nutshell, this is what's happening to the earth's atmosphere when we perform Sankirtan marathons. Now, we can become so dear to Krishna, we can become so dear to Lord Chaitanya, and we can become so dear to Prabhupada if we make their desire to go on Sankirtan our own desire. The purpose of our life, even though we're here in this amazing Dham, is not just to retire from Sankirtan and become bhajan anandis. The purpose of Mayapur is to inspire the jivas to love going out on Sankirtan. So we should not misunderstand what it means to be living in this holy Dham. Yes, it's a wonderful place for studying and improving and our realizations, even taking courses at the institutes and so on, and worshiping these deities in such an amazing way, and just having a peaceful society, thousands and thousands of devotees. We're insulated and we have each other's association. Is that the ultimate purpose of Mayapur? The ultimate purpose of Mayapur is the spreading of the Sankirtan Yajna, where it first began throughout the world, to get that desire. As much as you want to learn shlokas, which is glorious, I'm not saying it's not, it's amazing. I wish I could take another birth just to start learning them. But the purpose of being here in the Dham is to go out from the Dham, take the energy of the Dham and bring it to the whole world and change the world. You can never forget, that's the purpose of the Hare Krishna movement. It's not to create comfortable retirement homes for devotees. It's to create the most fired up Sankirtan warriors. I will end with a quote from Srila Prabhupada in a letter that he wrote to me, to all of us, back in 1973. He said, all these temples, they are not places simply for eating and sleeping, but bases, like a military phrase, bases from which we send out our devotees, men, women, Sankirtan warriors, to fight Maya. Fighting Maya means distributing unlimited numbers of books. Just like during wartime, the bombs are raining down from the sky like anything. That's what Prabhupada described the purpose of living in a temple. To get so fired up and so pure in your heart and so sincere and so compassionate, you can't wait to run out for Sankirtan. So get all the nourishment you can by living in this dham. It's partly why I moved here. To go back out on Sankirtan, which is the ultimate reason why I moved here. And I hope for all of us, we're making Prabhupada's mission more important than anything else we want to do. So with that, I know we're over time by 2 or 3 minutes. Does anyone have any question? Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you for a wonderful class, really ecstatic. There's a, in the introduction to the 1996 Vyasa Puja book, written by Lokanath Swami, a really powerful point. Ganga Devi approached Krishna. This was before the age of Kali began. And said, Krishna, I'm in so much anxiety because all these sinful people in Kali Yuga will bathe in my waters. What will I do with all these sinful reactions? And then Krishna said, Ganga Mata, don't worry. My mantra Upashaka Vaishnava will appear in 5,000 years, and he'll make pure devotees all over the world. They'll come in your waters and free you of these sinful reactions. So that, like, the point is that Lokanath, there's some people say, no, it's Lord Chaitanya, but Lord Chaitanya, as none different than Krishna, empowered Prabhupada to do this. And at the end of this reference, this is from the Brahma Vaivarta Purana, this is the beginning of the golden age of Krishna consciousness, that Prabhupada initiated. It's a very powerful understanding. And this is an example. Which Krishna had a plan, and he takes his eternal associates to execute those plans. And now, as you said, we've got to carry on the instructions that Srila Prabhupada has given us so powerfully. And then everything will work.
Thank you. When Prabhupada made us devotees, he also enlisted us in his Sankirtan army. Now, you're either a frontline warrior or you're a support warrior. Armies need so much support. What's on the altar is so essential for an army. The decoration and beauty of this deity worship is so powerful, and it's making the army so powerful. Similarly, whoever is cooking prasadam and distributing, all of these support services are supporting the Sankirtan Yajna. But don't mistake that we have a different purpose. The ultimate purpose behind the creation of ISKCON and the Hare Krishna movement and all these communities is to enlist devotees as Sankirtan warriors, filled with sincerity and love and compassion and Krishna consciousness. the world will not be able to resist those qualities. So we are here to develop those qualities and then not keep them for ourselves, but to spread them everywhere. Thank you. Any question on this side? Otherwise we have to, okay, one question on this side, whoever gets, I know there's 3 or 4 hands up, but I have to let everyone stick to some transcendental schedule. Okay, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for a nice class and important topic. For this demon, when you start the demon and asuras deva devtas mood, I have a very simple question. We all are living in material, this situation, and we carrying our spiritual things. So, what if someone, like innocent kids, they like to stay in Mayapur, and parents, one of the parents no want. What act can be my help, or what can I do?
So someone's staying in Mayapur, but they're not going out on Sankirtan. What can they do? Everything that's being done in this community is for the spiritualization of the Sankirtan devotees, as well as your own soul. It's not limited to just you becoming Krishna conscious. So every seva that you do here is supposed to have a connection to the Sankirtan devotees we send out to chant, distribute prasadam, and most importantly, distribute books. So you just have to feel that connection and not think I'm just here for myself. It's that simple. Every service does support Sankirtan. You just have to know how to think about it. So I'm sorry we're out of time, but any private questions? I'm easy to reach. I live here. On this trip, I'll be here till the first half of April. Then I'll be right back in October till the next April, and on and on. You'll always be able to, anyone who wants to ask me questions or correct me, I'm open to that. And I thank you all. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Defeating the asuras of this age of Kali ki jai. Transcendental Sankirtan and book distribution ki